great voice of the Great Lakes. This is Paul W. Smith on WJR with Kevin Dietz filling in for Paul.
President Donald Trump calls Amy Coney Barrett one of our nation's most brilliant and gifted legal minds, saying her qualifications are unsurpassed and her record is beyond reproach. Judge Amy Coney Barrett herself says, "I have no illusions that the road ahead of me will be easy, either for the short term or the long haul. I assure you that I will meet the challenges with both humility and courage." Governor Gretchen Whitmer said this nomination is a reminder of how important it is for Americans everywhere to make their voice heard at the ballot box this November. Healthcare for millions of Americans is on the line. Women's right to autonomy over our bodies is on the line. Joining us now is David Dulio, professor of political sciences at Oakland University. David, thanks for being on the Paul W. Smith Show today.
It's my pleasure, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
So the president said he would nominate somebody over the weekend, and he did. What is your initial reaction to the nomination?
Well, I think it's one of the names that was floated for a long time as being on a short list should a vacancy come open. The president has talked about or had Judge Barrett on the list for a while, and I think it's pretty predictable. It's very popular in conservative circles, and it's going to be quite a scene on Capitol Hill.
So do you expect fireworks at confirmation hearing, or do you expect that they'll say, look, we Democrats will say we don't have the numbers. She's been confirmed in her current position. Let's just move on to the next battle. What do you anticipate?
Well, I think the strategy may be to try and make the nominee and the process look illegitimate. And usually when we have these big Supreme Court battles, there are fireworks when one side doggedly defends their nominee and the other one takes them on pretty good. You might see Democrats boycott it. You might see them try to say this: we're not going to participate in some sort of sham process because, frankly, they know the outcome. If the Republicans that have said that they are supportive of this nominee and of the confirmation process taking place right now, if they stick together, Democrats can't stop it.
So where do you see this particular nominee's strengths when you look at Amy Coney Barrett? What will the Republicans say? You absolutely have to confirm her. This is where she's strong.
Well, I think that they'll look at her background, her resume. I believe she's got a very high rating from the American Bar Association. They'll point to her credentials and say this is a fine jurist on paper, and there's no reason not to confirm her.
Do you think Democrats will attack her personally like they did last time around with Kavanaugh, or do you think they will attack her position on issues? We've heard already them come out and talk about health care and Roe v. Wade.
Right.
What do you anticipate the Democrats doing as this rolls out over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I think that this is going to sound like I'm splitting hairs here, but it may depend on how you define personal, because she was criticized last time around by Senator Feinstein for her religious beliefs. And Senator Feinstein went after those pretty aggressively in framing them as having an impact on her rulings. And I think you'd see that play out more than anything else, unless, of course, there's, like in the Kavanaugh process, something that is newly discovered or rediscovered.
She would be the sixth Catholic, if she's appointed to the bench, she'd be the sixth Catholic justice. Do you see that being an issue that can be of serious debate, or do you think that is just the way it is, and they'll say, well, we have Catholics on the bench, why would it be any different with her?
I think it could come up in her beliefs about abortion and what she would do if a case came before the court that had that as its central issue. She has, of course, said in the past that she doesn't believe that her personal beliefs ought to apply to rulings, that it should be the law, and that's where there's a clear dividing line.
When you look at the ages of the justices, Amy Coney Barrett is 48 years old. Clarence Thomas is 72 years old. Justice Breyer is 82 years old. Justice Roberts is 65 years old. Justice Alito, 70 years old. Justice Sotomayor, 66 years old. Justice Kagan, 60 years old. Justice Gorsuch, 53 years old. Justice Kavanaugh, 55 years old. Should be the youngest by a few years. Do you think age and experience will play a role in her personally or specifically?
Well, she's already said that she has this experience that she's going to lean on in her speech over the weekend accepting the nomination. She talked about having clerked for Justice Scalia and how his philosophy really impacted her throughout her career. She even went as far as to say that his judicial philosophy is my judicial philosophy. So I think that age is just a number, right? It's what they can bring to the decision making, what they can bring to bear on the court itself. And but I think that in this instance, you've got somebody who has a good bit of experience at the Supreme Court, having clerked for Scalia, and is likely to return to those roots.
We heard Governor Gretchen Whitmer say this points out the importance of getting to the polls and voting. If Joe Biden were to win and the Democrats were able to get control of the Senate, do you think they would move to add additional justices? Do you think they might do something like put a max term of 18 years on how long a justice can serve?
Well, I think that's a never say never in politics, that's for sure. And we're learning that more and more as we go through 2020. But I think so. I think anything's possible. I wonder if this isn't like the term limit battle for members of Congress. I think you could see any number of moves pushed by Democrats should they get control of the Senate along with the House and win the White House.
Do you think what happens in these hearings will impact the election in one way or another?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because we can go back to the Kavanaugh process in 2018, and I think that it certainly had an impact, especially in some Senate races. And we saw that election cycle, 3 or 4 U.S. Senate races turn on incumbent Democrats who announced that they were going to vote against the Kavanaugh confirmation. And all but one Democrat who was up for re-election in a tight district, or tight Senate race, lost. And that really allowed Republicans to gain the 3 seats that they did in that election cycle in the U.S. Senate. It'll be very interesting to see over the month of October how those competitive Senate races this time around are impacted by the nomination process and vote.
All right. Yeah, very interesting to see how this plays out in tomorrow's debate as well. Professor David Dooley, Oakland University, thanks for being on the Paul W. Smith Show today.
Sure thing.
All right.